I want to thank you, a special thanks to the organizers of this event. This is my first introduction to the Chamber, and really impressed by the work that's being done and the conference that's happening today. So congratulations to the organizers, and I want to thank each of you for being here today and for your interest in today's session. Before I delve into the sessions in detail, just a quick overview of how the session will unfold. We'll start with presentations from our three esteemed guests that I'll call up in a few moments, and then we'll have a question and answer session once everyone's finished their presentations. And at that time, I'd be happy to take questions from the audience. And I started in our first presentation today, but I will call them up first of all. So Shamsuddin Alimov, if you wouldn't mind joining me up here, please. The chairman of the board, Geological Exploration. Maybe take a seat, please. Victor King, Senior Vice President, Exploration, Beta Gold. Thank you, Victor. And Yevgeny Antonov. Yevgeny, would you like joining us as well, please? And we'll get the presenters maybe to come up to the mic and do their presentation. And our first presentation this afternoon will be Shamsuddin Alimov. Mr. Alimov is the head of Geological Survey, Ministry of Mining Industry and Geology for the Republic of Uzbekistan. Help me in welcoming Shamsuddin. For that video, some beautiful landscapes, some beautiful country, and I'm sure after seeing this, all of us want to do business in Uzbekistan. So we'll start off with our first speaker.
Министерство горно-добывающей промышленности и геологии Республики Узбекистан разрешите поприветствовать всех и кратко проинформировать о предпринимаемых мерах по привлечению потенциальных инвесторов в горно-геологическую отрасль. Мы являемся органом государственного управления, осуществляющим регулирование в области геологического изучения, использования и охраны недр. Мы отвечаем за стратегию разработки полезных ископаемых, политику добычи полезных ископаемых и лицензирование по принципу одного окна. Что касается разведки, мы охватываем современные методы и технологии, такие как дистанционное зондирование, аэрогеофизика, исследование на месте, оценка запасов и геоэкономическое исследование. Что касается полезных ископаемых, Узбекистан входит в десятку крупнейших в мире по запасам полезных ископаемых, таких как золото, 2 место, серебро, 9 место, медь, 9 место, уран, 12 место и другие. В то же время в стране достаточно развит горнодобывающий сектор. В частности, обе горнодобывающие компании Наваи и Алмалык ежегодно добывают более 100 тонн золота и около 150 тысяч тонн меди. А также, как потенциальная территория страны изучен лишь до 40%. Есть огромные перспективы исследовать больше. Вот почему мы реализуем долгосрочные программы геологоразведки для удовлетворения потребностей местных горнодобывающих компаний, а также иностранных инвесторов. Мы все сталкивались с глобальными изменениями сырьевых товаров, которые влияют на наши программы разведки. Растущий спрос рождает предложение. Именно перспективы электромобилей повлекла за собой кардинальные изменения по цветным металлам. Особенно сейчас растет спрос на медь и другие технологические металлы. Учитывая, что правительство выдвинуло инициативу медного кластера от добычи до переработки с цепочкой продуктов с добавленной стоимостью, соответственно, до 2026 года мы значительно увеличиваем наши обязательства по геологоразведке. Сейчас мы продвигаем программу по увеличению прихода 5 лет запаса золота более чем 700 тонн, это 25 миллионов унций, около 1,5 миллиона тонн меди и другие полезные ископаемые соответственно. Кроме того, для создания благоприятного инвестиционного климата в горнодобывающей отрасли приняты конкретные меры, которые состоят из: первое, дальнейшее снижение ставок роялти на металлы золото, серебро, медь, уран и другие по 7%. Отмена взимания лицензионного сбора на геологическое изучение и добычу полезных ископаемых. Третье. Освобождение недропользователя от земельного налога на этапе разведки и таможенных сопровождений, что, безусловно, способствует подъему горнодобывающей промышленности и связанных с ней геологических услуг. Эти реформы проведения в последние годы для улучшения инвестиционного климата привели к новым совместным проектам, с такими партнерами мирового уровня, как B2Gold Канада, Arana Mining Франция, JOGMEC Япония, Турецкая геологическая служба, и с общими стоимостью проектов около более 3,5 миллиарда долларов США. Разрешите рассказать кратко о двустороннем сотрудничестве между Министерством горного дела и геологии Узбекистана и канадской компанией B2Gold Central Asia. Данная компания является стратегическим партнером министерства с 2019 года. Компания B2Gold ведет геологоразведочную работу на западном Узбекистане, участках Айрак-Сангрунтау, Аякудук-Ямбыскак, Балакара, Карагата на золото. Общая стоимость проекта составляет более 20 миллионов долларов. На сегодняшний день с начала проекта компания пробурила около 35 тысяч метров методом РСИ и 22 тысяч метров методом РАП и проанализировала около 100 тысяч проб. В целях дальнейшего укрепления законодательства совместно с международными консультантами из ЕБРД, Международного валютного фонда, BCG и другими подготовлен новый горный кодекс и представлен в данное время правительству. Мы взяли опыт австралийских, канадских горнодобывающих компаний и внедрили международные стандарты, такие как введение кодекса JORC, поддержка юниорской разработки, гарантия собственности и переходов прав недропользования. Внедрение блочной системы разведки под принципом «первый пришел, первый получил» и предоставление отводов для добычи на основе аукционной системы торгов. Прозрачные инвестиционные обязательства, здоровая и безопасная зеленая повестка дня. Исходя из этого, у нас есть проектные предложения, 2 вновь открытых месторождения. Один для медно-золотого месторождения Мыском по стандартам ДЖОР с запасами 1,5 миллиона тонн меди, 62 тонн золота, серебра, молибдена и других металлов. Второе. Мангитское пигматитовое месторождение с потенциалом редких металлов, тантала, как ниобия и других редких металлов. Еще одним технологическим проектом является глубокая переработка каолина и получение ассортимента каолинового сырья для производства керамики, цемента, косметики. Основным из них является глинозем высокой чистоты с содержанием 99,4%, который используется в качестве сепарата литий-ионных аккумуляторов. Стоимость проекта составляет $300 миллионов и мощность 100 тысяч тонн переработки руды. Другими перспективными позициями являются углеводороды. Узбекистан обладает огромным потенциалом на территории 260 квадратных километров. Здесь открыто около 300 месторождений нефти и газа, ежегодно добывается 50 миллиардов кубометров природного газа. В 2020-2022 годах мы провели сейсморазведку 3D и подготовили ряд перспективных площадей для газовых структур в глубоких горизонтах совместно с международным консалтингом. В частности, BCG прогнозирует более 2 триллионов кубометров газа на глубине 4-6 километров в Уссурийском регионе на западе Узбекистана. У экспертов Шлюмберже есть прогноз на 1 триллион газа на глубине 5-7 километров в юрскую и палеозойскую эру. Таким образом, современное геофизическое оборудование позволило запланировать впервые скважины глубиной 6,5 километров для выявления запасов газа. В заключение позвольте мне выделить некоторые ключевые моменты. Имея с одной стороны благоприятный инвестиционный климат, мощную государственную поддержку, диверсифицированную горнодобывающую промышленность, а также инфраструктуру и низкая стоимость рабочей силы и энергетических ресурсов, с другой стороны, с богатыми полезными ископаемыми, Узбекистан является вашим местом для инвестиций. Вот наши контакты. Спасибо.
All right, thank you, Mr. Elamov, for that great presentation. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Victor King, Senior Vice President Exploration at B2Gold. Mr. King has more than 30 years of senior management experience in exploration, development, and production in the gold mining industry. He joined B2Gold at the end of 2013 following an acquisition of Volta Resources, where he was Chief Operating Officer. His initial role at B2Gold was Exploration Manager for West Africa. Most recently, he was Vice President Exploration, and prior to that, Regional Vice President for West Africa. Please help me in welcoming Victor.
Well, it's great to be here. I believe B2Gold's experience in Uzbekistan started shortly after a meeting here at PDAC 5 years ago, and we've been active in the country since then. Our interests are in the exploration field, where we've been particularly active in the last 3 years. Just quickly, on B2Gold, because our activity is primarily exploration, I'll talk to that and what our budgets are in B2Gold for our global business to put Uzbekistan in some sort of context. We have a 63 or nearly $64 million budget US for this year, of which nearly 23 million is in greenfields exploration, and of that we've set aside just under $6 million for Uzbekistan. We've been, as I said, particularly active over the last 3 years, and that included some challenging times during the COVID pandemic, but have covered a lot of ground in the country and have done a lot of drilling on the 3 permits that we've been allocated. The licenses that B2Gold was allocated by Gazprom Geology were within the sort of framework and in the vicinity of probably the world's largest gold deposit, Muruntau. All of our permits are within 50 kilometers of Muruntau, and were picked by us and granted by Gazprom on the basis of what we felt were some regional structures that transect this part of the Kizilkum gold field. And we were pretty excited to get involved there 3 years ago. The area is underlain quite heavily by late cover, so there's nothing much sticking out in terms of surface. So the exploration has been quite challenging, requiring geophysics and a lot of drilling through cover to see whether we could pick up something that the Navoy and other of the state had not picked up in this area before. As I said, a lot of drilling over 4 years, over 5 years. In the last 4, we spent just under 15. That's really our effort in Uzbekistan for now. We're coming to a point in terms of the 3 licenses that we hold that really we don't see a B2Gold size project on the licenses that we currently hold. We're very hopeful that we're in discussions with the government right now and with Gazprom particularly on looking at acquiring another license that we believe has a lot of potential for the world-class deposits that Uzbekistan is famous for. We've had a very good relationship in the country and would like to pursue it if we can, in terms of if we can actually secure this license and on terms that will work for us in terms of a long-term investment. I'd like to just mention a few things about B2Gold itself as a Canadian company and what we can bring to Uzbekistan and Central Asia as a whole. We focus very much on ESG, the environmental, social, and governance aspects of our business. We operate across the world, and we apply what our CEO, Clive Johnson, likes to say, Canadian values to wherever we operate. That's based on respect, fairness, and transparency. I think it's sort of follows some of the good marriage advice that was given a little earlier. We really believe that's the core of what we do. So focusing on these elements is really important to us. Yes, some of the aspects on the environmental side. We were one of the first companies in Africa to start using solar power in Namibia. That's expanded now at our flagship project in Mali, Fekola Mine, where we have the largest hybrid solar and HFO plant, and we're looking at doubling the size of that plant. We very much focused on our people as well. We employ in excess of 95% nationals in all of our projects across Mali, as I mentioned earlier, Philippines, where we have a mine, and also in Namibia. We employ over 5,000 people at this point in time, and that's all managed out of our office in Vancouver. Our local communities are very important to us, and it's something that we bring and take very seriously. In Mali, where I've spent a lot of my time involved in my job as VP of West Africa, really bringing healthcare, education, and alternative livelihoods to very marginalized communities in these rural parts of Mali. In Namibia, lots more infrastructure there, but also bring a lot in terms of training. We do have scholarship programs, internships, and we support various education, health, and also particularly environmental work. In the Philippines, we're on an island, so the opportunities for work and jobs are fairly tight, but the company has supported a host of different projects, including some environmental projects which have improved the marine environment in the area. We planted several million mangrove trees to rehabilitate coral reefs and coral reefs themselves using reef balls. And then in Vancouver, our home city, there's also a very generous support of local organizations. Yeah, I've mentioned some of them already. Actually, an interesting one in Namibia, we've actually minted gold bars called rhino bars, and then donated those to a rhino foundation, which then uses the proceeds of that to actually support rhino conservation. These animals are very much in danger in the country. Similarly, in West Africa, chimpanzees, reef restoration, as I mentioned, in the Philippines, as well as cheetahs in Namibia. So, B2Gold is very well placed, both in terms of its financial position, as well as its people, and the ability to take projects from exploration through development and into production. And we feel that we can make a very positive contribution in Uzbekistan, and it's something that we very much hope we can do with this current discussion with the Uzbek authorities for another license, so that we can continue to do what we have been doing for the last 4 years in the country. And I think our international experience and what we bring to not just the mining and exploration side of things, as I illustrated there, would be a win-win situation for both us and for Uzbekistan. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Victor. And our final presenter this afternoon, panelist this afternoon, is Evgeny Antonov. Excuse me for the pronunciation. Mr. Antonov is the Chief Transformation Officer for Novoy Mining and Metallurgical Company. He has over 2 decades of experience in the mining industry in leadership roles with international majors. He was formerly COO and board member of Trans-Siberian Gold. Before joining Trans-Siberian Gold, Mr. Antonov spent 11 years at Kinross, where he was Director of Commercial and Supply Chain Management Operations. He has also held key positions at Bema Gold Corporation in Canada, as well as at Teck, also in Canada. A member of the Chartered Professional Accountants in Canada, holds an MBA from the University of Toronto, Rothman School of Management. Let's welcome Evangie.
I'd like to introduce to you the largest company in Uzbekistan, Navoy Mining and Metallurgical Company. It's our first presence in an international event of PDAC in Toronto, and we are very happy to be here in Toronto and meet with the other peers of the mining industry. So here's a quick look at our facts. So Navoy Gold Company is, in terms of gold output, is in the top 4. Our annual gold production last year was 2.8 million ounces. We have a very large resource base, in excess of 150 million ounces, which gives us expected mine life of over 40 years. Our flagship mine is Muruntau, well-known, world-class mine. And we also pride to be a cost leader, low-cost leader. Our TCC per ounce in 2021 was $623 per ounce, which puts us in the top ranking globally. We're also low leverage and a highly profitable company. Our EBITDA margin is 63%. These are 2021 financials. We have not published last year financials yet. And our total revenue in prior year was $4.8 billion. So we can, so just a quick overview of Uzbekistan economy. As was mentioned, it's a rapidly growing economy. Our GDP in 2021 reached almost $70 billion, and a growing population, which is currently 35 million, catching up with Canadian population very quickly. We also have one of the highest GDP growth rates in the region, definitely in Central Asia. And in terms of industry diversification, our economy is well balanced and diversified compared to neighboring countries. Also very abundant with natural resources, and gold, of course, is being on the top of the list with estimated reserves of 5,000 tons. And as mentioned, the GDP is growing very rapidly annually. Uzbekistan is undergoing a series of reforms aimed at further transitioning to market economy, especially concerning the state-owned companies. And there has been a number of significant changes implemented recently to make the country a more attractive destination for direct foreign investment, such as simplifying the tax system, reducing the mineral resource tax, and reducing the red tape. Just recently, the number of government ministries and agencies has been significantly reduced. And we can see the result. We can see the increase in direct foreign investment into the country. So here we can take a look quickly at our assets. They're all located within 2-3 hours of driving from the town of Navoy, where our head office is located. And most of our operations are open pit. And we have some that are underground. And as it was mentioned, by far the largest asset is Muruntau mine. The Muruntau cluster holds almost 70% of our total resource base. The ore from Muruntau mine is processed at processing plant number 2 with annual capacity of over 50 million tons of ore. It's very large. And we're currently undergoing an expansion project at Muruntau Mine. It's called Stage 5 expansion to access new zones of ore. This is just to show Muruntau compared to other big mines. So you can see it's large. It's truly a world-class deposit. Annual production is 1.7 million ounces from Muruntau, and the total recoverable resources are estimated at 100 million ounces. Most of our resources have been converted to JORC-based international system, and we're currently undergoing ore reserve re-estimation process. As I mentioned, our very robust resource base puts us on the top of the list globally in terms of our resource base in 2021 with over 150 million ounces. That puts us third globally. And our annual production based on the first half of 2022, we produced 1.4 million ounces. And of course, now we know the results of 2022. It's doubled that, 2.8 million ounces. That also puts us in ranks us at number 4 globally. As I mentioned, we're a cost leader, a large-scale, low-cost producer. Our TCC is 623 per ounce, and all-in sustaining costs are 751, which is the lowest, one of the lowest globally. So our strength is in our people, and we believe in our people. We believe in development of our employees. We have a very significant headcount, over 45,000 people work for the company. We have one of the lowest turnover rates in the industry. Last year it was just under 3%. People who come to work for Navoi, they stay with us for a long time, and we pay them back by continuous development. We have 3 development centers in Navoi and Zarafshan, and for example, last year we have trained about 13,000 people have been trained in these centers for various disciplines. We're clearly the main employer in the country, and we have social responsibility to keep our people safe. Another thing to mention is that in general, Uzbekistan population is a very young age on average. Median age is 28 years, and that also is reflected in our workforce. We have a relatively young workforce with average age, I believe, is about 35 years old. Yeah, and so as I mentioned, we have invested heavily in training and development of our people. We're also committed to talent management. We have a very robust system in place to promote the right talent internally. We have quite a few young people who have joined the management team, who came directly from the mine sites. One good example of that is our COO, who was a young chief engineer at Muruntau Mine, and last year he joined the management team in Navoi. However, we also face challenges, just like other global companies do, in terms of the workforce. We feel the increasing competition for talent, especially in the times when the mining industry is doing well. Everyone is hunting for people, and we're no exception for that. We also, as we join the global markets, there is an increased expectation of best international practices. So we try to attract also people externally that have international experience and worked in other countries. And we're also cognizant of the fact that we need to raise the employer brand to become known, not just in the country, but also externally, so that we can bring the best of the best to help us with our transition. And to address these challenges, so we have, today we have also present in this room our HR director, Kurban Murat Taparov, who has been heading transformation of our HR function, and there has been lots of digital solutions and technologies implemented in HR to help to process such a significant and operate such a significant headcount. We're also working on a transparent remuneration system to develop a fair and understandable system, KPI-based system that's tied to our strategic objectives and goals, for starting with the top management of the company, and later on it will be cascaded down to other levels of management. Knowledge transfer, as I mentioned, we bring in external experts, expats also, with the objective so that they transfer their knowledge to local employees, train them, and have a good succession plan in place. And we're also, diversity and inclusion is very important to us, and we're proud that almost 20% of our workforce are women, and that number will be growing. We continue to make sure that we have equal working environment for both women and men in Navoi. That's it from my side. Thank you very much for the attention.
Well, thank you, Evgeny. Any questions from the audience for any of our panelists? We have an open mic there. We said we want some participation from the audience. That was the challenge. Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, I'm Nathan Hunt, one of the founders of the Canada-Eurasia Chamber of Commerce. And I gave kind of a provocative question at last night's dinner with the Embassy of Kazakhstan, and this is basically a follow-on to that. It's no secret that the entire region has been tainted by what is happening with the northern neighbor of both Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. We all know what's happening. We all know that it has certainly not been beneficial for the climate, for the investment climate. It has not destroyed the investment climate. But my question is, as an association, to what extent would you see value in us attempting to put together a PR campaign, the message of which is Central Asia is not all of Eurasia? Because Eurasia, certain parts of it have been tainted by the conflict that we all know about. But Central Asia has not been. Unfortunately, many, I think, international investors, if you ask them, do you know that Kazakhstan and Russia are not the same thing? They'll say, yes, of course, I know that. But if you tell them, what do you think about the region as a whole? They'll say, well, we're steering clear of Central Asia and the entire region because of what's happening in the Eurasian space. Last night, standing with Don and Norman from Condor Petroleum, with Darren from Aris Metals, we were talking about hatching a brainchild. If we could get some of the members to support a PR campaign, the message of which might be sent, it might be a presentation that we would send to institutional investors, for instance, or perhaps journalists, or perhaps not. We would certainly agree on that beforehand. The message of which would be that Central Asia is not Western Eurasia. Central Asia is stable, it's calm, it's reliable, and we welcome investors. We've had tremendous reform. We're progressive. How valuable would you view that as an activity? Perhaps I'd ask all three of the panelists.
Thank you for the question. Gentlemen, who would like to take that? Or maybe you each want to have a turn.
Yeah, I'm a geologist, so that's a tough one to answer from my perspective. But I think the fact that we're there, we came into Uzbekistan. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're the first Western gold company to invest in the country. We're very much driven by the geology, so it's obviously, as Eugene indicated there, it's highly prospective, and that's what drives us in terms of maintaining our presence in Uzbekistan, and we certainly look at Central Asia as a whole. To answer your question more directly, I think it would benefit the industry as a whole to have that distinction drawn. I don't know how it would work politically, but it's clear to us that there is a separation. And it's, as one of the speakers earlier said, it's not Russia and it's not China. It is the Central Asian countries. So I think that's something well worth supporting as an organization.
Yes, I totally agree. Uzbekistan is a country, has its own identity, its own path, not to be confused with any other countries. And Navoi, as the gold mining company, also has its own identity. And to be honest, we have not felt any weird questions. Most of the people we met here have a clear distinction between what Uzbekistan is and that it's a separate country, separate from those geopolitical tensions that you mentioned. But I agree that the stronger this message is, the better it is for everyone.
Спасибо за вопрос. Значит, присоединюсь к нашим крупным компаниям. Значит, в первую очередь это V2 Gold, это самая крупная компания как бы по золотодобыче, и как бы наша национальная компания тоже самая крупная. Узбекистан открыт, Узбекистан гибок в этом направлении. Добро пожаловать в Узбекистан. Спасибо.
All right, thank you for the question and thank you for the responses. Any other questions? Okay, I think we're running close to the end here, but I did want to, maybe you're wondering why I'm here from Saskatchewan Polytechnic. We are a polytechnic, Saskatchewan's polytechnic, and we offer over 150 programs in all sectors of the economy. And we see one of our roles is helping industry develop the talent and the skills that it needs to be successful in their businesses. So I have three of my colleagues here. They can stand up and maybe give a bit of a wave, but I would encourage you to talk to them after this is over. In Saskatchewan, we're very blessed with some real natural resources, and our Premier likes to say we have what the world needs: food, fuel, and fertilizer. When I hear what I've heard about Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, you're blessed with some very rich resources as well. So I think we have a lot in common. In Saskatchewan, we work very closely with industry. We say we're industry driven in providing them with the skills they need to make sure that they're successful in their businesses. Talent development, skill development is what we do for industry. We have a mining engineering technology program, civil design, engineering design drafting. We do applied research. Examples would be we're working with BHP, we're working with Cameco to help them digitize and upskill their employees in the digital world. So we're very interested in working in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, and would be interested in further discussions with all of you as well. One question I would have before I wrap up for our panelists is, how do you see your workforce changing in the next 5 to 10 years? And what skills do you see as hard to find in the local labor market?
Yeah, I think a big change, certainly for me that has worked overseas in West Africa and viewed international companies working is there's an increased, quite rightly, requirement for local employment. Traditionally, I guess going back, a lot of that was provided by expatriates going out and basically taking on most of the management jobs. I think that has changed enormously certainly over the last 10 years. As I said earlier, in Mali, in Namibia, we were over 96% local employment, and that has been, I think a lot of that has been because it's been supported by organizations like Saskatchewan and other universities across the world that have actually had partnership programs locally to improve the quality of the graduates that they produce. So I think that more of that, I think, is essential. It just makes sense. I think that I think should just be pushed.
Thank you.
To answer your questions, where we see our workforce in 5 years, I think the workforce will definitely become younger, and it will be expected to have more digital skills. As we see, mining industry is no exception. It's evolving very rapidly, and new digital solutions are being introduced even to such a conservative industry as mining. So we definitely need to develop our employees in that area, and also we would like our employees to get more international experience and study abroad, work abroad, and maybe who knows, maybe we will partner with Saskatchewan University in that regards.
Excellent, thank you. So we got to connect your HR person with our individuals over here. Wonderful.
One more word?
One more, yeah. One more question. Hey, we're getting audience participation. That's awesome.
Right, I would like to add something to the Mr. Antonov's presentation. As we are, my company, Intertech Process Technology, first met Navoi back in, I guess, 1992 or 3, when after the fall of Soviet Union, Navoi, one of the major producer of the gold, of course, found himself by having no good delivery status. So we have embarked on the large program to develop laboratory systems for Navoi, and Navoi at the end get good delivery status, which makes them one of the prime producer of gold in the world. But over these years, from 90s to now we make phenomenal transition from born from uranium, transiting to gold, and then finally splitting from uranium and becoming very major single gold producer. And what I hear is that in the plans very soon, Navoi will also float on the stock exchange. So as a new member of the stock exchange and junior stock company, I strongly recommend to buy Navoi stocks to make lots of money.
All right. Thank you for that. That's good to hear. Thank you. Okay, two more last comments, two thank yous. I want to thank all of you, the audience, for your participation, for number one, and for your attention and interest in Uzbekistan. And secondly, please join me in thanking our panelists, Mr. Alamov, Mr. King, and Mr. Antonov, for their presentation. Thank you, gentlemen.